Less than 24 hours until the debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, which means Donald Trump's tradition of whining about the debate, attacking the moderators, and having Fox threaten boycotts and make other threats at the host of the debate. We're going to break all of that down. And again, a big night tomorrow night indeed. Then over the weekend, Donald Trump gave a speech in Wisconsin. We need to make this message loud and clear that corporate media needs to stop sane washing these things. Donald Trump talking about Hannibal Lecter, saying how he doesn't like to be called weird, and he's actually a pretty not weird person, he says. He praised Al Capone. He talked about how Russia is once again being brought up by the Department of Justice, and he doesn't know why. Is it Russia, Russia, Russia? He talks about Putin endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as though we're all supposed to believe that that's actually what went down. He claimed the January 6th committee destroyed all of its files, despite the fact that you can literally Google it right now and get the J6 archive. Then he made comments like, if you don't elect me, there's not going to be elections anymore. We'll break it all down. Vice President Kamala Harris is out with some really compelling ads as well that have been airing across the country. You may have seen some of them watching football over the weekend, and her latest one is just so powerful. We'll break that down, as well as some additional economic news and Governor Walz's speech as well that I thought was quite compelling. Then I want to break down some of the latest MAGA ops that are taking place. Wherever you look, unfortunately, they're being amplified by people like Elon Musk and others, including the House Judiciary GOP account, the official account of the GOP, teaming up with Elon Musk to spread vicious lies that thousands of Haitian unlawful migrants are eating people's pets in Springfield, Ohio. The Springfield police have come out with a statement denying that this is taking place. And then last week, their latest one was Venezuelan migrants have taken over all of Aurora, Colorado, and all of Denver, and they are launching all of their cartel operations from various buildings that they've conquered. And then Donald Trump in his speech this weekend was like, I'm going to issue an executive order to make sure that those cartels go away and that the Venezuelan cartels be removed. They like make up all these false stories and then try to come up with fake solutions to the ops that they're creating. Don't you worry. We'll break it all down here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. Brothers, how are you both doing?
Doing great. It's great to be here, everybody. Great to be here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. We have so much to discuss. I cannot believe that we are 24 hours away from the first debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And I can also not believe that we are 57 days away from Election Day. You know what? Actually, I take that back. I can believe that we are getting that close to Election Day because, as Ben said, the ops are increasing at such a rate. When I say ops, I mean the psychological operations that are occurring from these MAGA Republicans, and oftentimes in coordination, as we've seen from the Department of Justice indictment, with foreign nations such as Russia, designed to flood the zone with disinformation and try to trick Americans into believing BS stories. This sort of stuff has ramped up to just such heights in recent days, recent weeks. And in fact, not only that, but accounts such as the MeidasTouch account and other accounts have been targeted by these ops in many ways over this past weekend. Some of you may have seen the MeidasTouch TikTok account was banned from TikTok. We were banned. Why were we banned? Because one night, a bunch of folks, a bunch of MAGA folks apparently decided to mass report a bunch of the content on our account. We got a list of clips that said violated the community guidelines of TikTok, promoting violence, promoting this. And they were just like the most basic clips of people saying why they were voting for Vice President Kamala Harris and other just very normal clips that we post here on the MeidasTouch Network. So we're going to talk about all these ops. We're going to tell you what to look out for and what is the latest that is going on. But first, we got to check in with Jordy. What's new, man?
What's up, brothers? I cannot wait for the show tonight. Speaking of that, Brett, I do have a request to start the show to the Midas Mighty and all the pro-democracy folks who love and enjoy this show. One, thank you for loving and enjoying this show. If you could subscribe to the audio component, it's the MeidasTouch Podcast, wherever you get your podcast, and give us a 5-star review. 5-star. Nothing less. 5-star. If you enjoy it, 5-star, please. It really helps with the show. And it also helps us sort of ward off those attacks from all these like bots and trolls who then try and give us negative ratings and stuff. So please, 5-star rate and review, and really appreciate it. Thank you. So that's where I want to start the show. Benji, where do you want to start the show today?
Well, look, Vice President Kamala Harris is out with very detailed policy proposals on her website that anybody can access. And as I always like to say, whether you agree with the policies, and by and large, I'm supportive of a lot of those policies, or if you disagree with those policies, you very concretely understand what she is proposing, and she is providing solutions to problems that exist to move the nation forward. The only policy document that ever existed by Donald Trump and these MAGAs was Project 2025, where they actually put down his ideas or their collective ideas of what they wanted to happen in a policy paper that people could read. And when people read it, they were horrified by it. So then Donald Trump and now the MAGAs claim they don't know what it is. We've never heard of Project 2025, despite the fact that Donald Trump has praised the Heritage Foundation founder. The Heritage Foundation founder has said that there wouldn't be no Project 2025 without Donald Trump. Donald Trump's top campaign staffers cut ads for Project 2025. Caroline Leavitt, his spokesperson, Stephen Miller, his other top aide, they're all over Project 2025. Some great British reporters went undercover and had one of the other main drafters of Project 2025 basically just admit, yeah, look, Donald Trump's behind this. We have to claim that we're not attached to it right now just because there's too much political heat on it. But obviously, we're going to be implementing these plans. You heard it right out of the mouth of the founder of Project 2025. But they don't have any concrete policy. So you have Donald Trump go up on stage and talks about Hannibal Lecter, and he makes a bunch of noises. And then there's a process. Aaron Rupert uses this term, although I think we've used this term right around the same time, this sane washing of the behavior, where they try to act like this is normal when it's absolutely the furthest thing from normal. And in normal political times, right, you'd have someone like Vice President Kamala Harris put out proposals. Somebody else, whether it would be like a Mitt Romney or a Bob Dole or a John McCain or whoever, put out their proposals. And then we could take a look and analyze the proposal. Hey, we like this, we don't like that. And Americans can make informed policy decisions, not like deformed Trump deconstructing our very democracy before our eyes. I want to cover all of that here on this episode. First and foremost, though, let's talk about, as we get closer to this debate, it's the same thing we see every time. It's exactly what Trump and MAGA and Fox were doing before the first debate with Biden. I just want you to be able to see the op. We're talking about ops on this episode that they do. So Donald Trump, when he gives this speech in Wisconsin, he goes, when I destroy her in the debate, people will still say that Trump got humiliated. When I win, they're going to say that I was the one who got humiliated. Here, play this clip.
You know, if I destroy her in the debate, they'll say, Trump suffered a humiliating defeat tonight, no matter what.
No, they won't. I mean, the evidence of that also is when Donald Trump had quite a poor debate showing against President Biden, they were both viewed on very different scales. I think President Biden was appropriately criticized for a bad debate performance. And you saw us come on right after the debate, and we said that was a bad debate. We said he was telling the truth, but he did not articulate his points in a way that's punchy and powerful and compelling for a debate format. He just isn't really good at doing that anymore. But Donald Trump actually got a complete pass the first time. So what Trump is doing there is he's conditioning his audience to already reject the truth that his debate will be a bad one. And if you hear it's bad, it actually means that he wins. That's what he's trying to condition his people. And I could show you other clips where he says that, but I don't want to take up the whole episode showing you that. So I'll just show you this one. So you've got Trump doing that, and he's making his posts also where he calls George Stephanopoulos, Flopadopoulos, Lopodopoulos, Lopolopoulos, all the stupid nicknames. He says how unfair it's going to be treated. It's so unfair. Why? Then he has Sean Hannity, who has previously said he's not a reporter. He's not a journalist. He's a Trump propagandist. We know because we've seen the emails from Hannity and Ingraham and Tucker Carlson and all of them from 2020 that quite literally they know Trump is crazy. They actually hate him, and they actually hate the MAGA supporters behind the scenes. That's what they write about. Nonetheless, in their text messages with each other. By the way, all of the things that MAGA would think that like other networks would be saying about the MAGA followers is actually what the Fox hosts were saying about their own viewers. But here's the path. Here's the same thing they do every time. Here, Sean Hannity essentially does threaten the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, and he threatens Bob Iger's reputation. And then he gives basically a threat that, you're not going to want conservatives to boycott. Let me be clear. These aren't conservatives. They're MAGA. But he threatens you don't want to boycott because that's what could happen. Here, watch this.
So should we really hold out any hope that ABC will at least try and be fair? Well, outgoing ABC Disney CEO Bob Iger, what kind of reputation do you want to leave behind? Will your network, are you going to be fair? Are you going to really show journalism? Are you going to be neutral? Or will the reputation of ABC News under the banner of Disney live up to their reputation of, or forever be tarnished with, extreme left-wing media bias? I would assume, Bob Iger, that you want conservatives to patronize Disney theme parks and Disney products.
Sounds exactly like a mobster. I assume you're going to want, by the way, not conservatives. Number one, they're MAGAs. Two, until this weirdo Trump movement, I would never think of Disney as a bastion of far left anything. I mean, it's Disney. They make movies, they make content.
Everyone's far left according to them now, right? The banks, they're like BlackRock, the far left. You're like, what are you talking about? Even, I mean, this kind of strategy, it really is like when you watch that is an example of what state-run TV would look like in America. It's an example of what state-run TV does look like in America right now, but it's propagandizing people who are kind of voluntarily watching this, assuming that it's some real form of news. But imagine if a Donald Trump were to get back into office, that could be like the necessary programming for people to watch, like required viewing. And that's how nations like Russia propagandize their citizens with people like Sean Hannity. And for Sean Hannity to try to knock anybody else on this concept of fairness while he sits up there and pretends to be a journalist, even though he has admitted before that he is far from that, while he stands up there with, quite frankly, like a thug, threatening companies like a fascist thug in order to try to get his purported result of what he wants. It is the opposite of what America is all about. And it shows you what this MAGA movement and what these Republicans are all about and why they're so dangerous.
That's what they're doing every day, though. You have Hannity going on. You'll see the chyron below. It says breaking news. No, it's not called news when Hannity says he's not a news reporter. So it's not breaking news. He's breaking the truth, if anything. And by breaking it, I mean destroying the truth. Here he is doing what he did similarly before the CNN debate, preemptively attacking ABC and pushing ABC's moderators to press Kamala Harris the way he wants it to go down. Here, play this clip.
So the question is, ABC News Disney, are they truly going to bring up these fundamental, basic questions that America needs to know? Kamala Harris has played a massive role in the border crisis. In fact, she played a major role in all of the Biden-Harris administrations. There are many failures on the economy. Their failure in Afghanistan, according.
Well, I think that all of those issues should be addressed, but not in the way that Sean Hannity is saying it. We should talk about the bipartisan border deal that Vice President Kamala Harris supported, that she would be willing to be the tiebreaker vote in if it came to that. But Donald Trump killed a Republican-led bill whose chief negotiator was James Lankford, a conservative, actual conservative, Republican senator from Oklahoma, who President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris allowed to structure the bill of his dreams, basically. And there was some compromise when it came to respecting the human dignity of migrants, which Democrats wanted to safeguard. But James Lankford, the Border Patrol Union, border governors were very supportive of this bipartisan border deal. Donald Trump said, you got to kill it. We need chaos at the border. Literally, that was his words. So you could go and look at other episodes and go, oh, he literally said that that it is a winning issue for him to keep problems going on at the border. So he told the MAGAs to kill the border deal and then to also threaten James Lankford. So there should be a discussion about that. But again, Donald Trump's position should not be sane-washed. The first time, I think, in recent American history, at least, where you don't have a political party running on better ideas. You have a political party in the MAGAs who are actually running on trying to destroy America and then run on the chaos for an authoritarian. If you want to present, hey, that bipartisan border deal didn't go far enough, even though James Lankford, the Republican who's worked on the border his whole career, said it did, we want to add this, this, and this, but that was a good start. That's not what they're doing. They just want to lie about every aspect. You want to talk about Afghanistan? Let's have a real discussion then, Hannity, about what went down in Afghanistan. That Donald Trump was the person who allowed 5,000 Taliban terrorists, including the now leader of Afghanistan, to be released with no preconditions, without involving the Afghan government. Donald Trump then shut down all the other American military bases but one, provided no transitionary data or information to the Biden administration, quite literally trapped the American soldiers. Because in my opinion, Donald Trump wanted there to be a mass casualty event in Afghanistan so Biden could be blamed on it and Trump could run on chaos and death and destruction. So I would have been the one who fixed it. Well, then why didn't you withdraw troops? If Trump's asked that question, he'll go, well, I got distracted by the elections. But then the election got stolen from me, and I was actually going to want to do it, and I tried to do it. It's all BS. Stop the sane washing of what it is he's doing and how dangerous he is. I'll just show you one more. I can show you 100 clips like this. Here's Hannity again floating a boycott against Disney if he doesn't like how the debate turns out. Play this clip.
No, which is sad. The American people have a right to know where a candidate stands, and I think this is wearing on people. We'll see. ABC, Disney, Bob Iger, hello, it's your company. Maybe he doesn't want conservatives at his theme parks. I don't know. We'll see.
That is what they do. That is what they do. And here, Brett, look, Jordy, remember what he did with CNN? You know, he attacked Jake Tapper and Dana Bash before the debate. And then Jake Tapper and Dana Bash were like the worst moderators. I'm not making that as an excuse that Biden did bad in the debate, because even in that format, Biden should have kicked Trump's ass. And they both did horrible, although the person who told lies the whole time got a complete pass, and the person who stuttered and just simply struggled a little bit, you know, with getting out the statements was the one who got pushed out, despite the fact that he's actually shown with conduct what a diligent communicator and visionary he is on actual policy and plans. But here's what they said before the CNN debate. Sound familiar? Play this clip.
This includes Dana Bash and fake Jake Tapper, who are now tasked, they say, with moderating the debate. Let me stop right here. I'm sorry, but the media mob and Joe Biden, I'll say it again, they don't get to collude and choose radical Biden-supporting hosts in the moderator's chair. Nice try, though. That means no fake Jake Tapper.
Then he says that Jake Tapper's disqualified. Play this clip.
Fake Jake is disqualified. And by the way, the media mob, the Biden campaign alone do not get to collude and decide. If Donald Trump is willing to go on a liberal network, then everyone must agree on who moderates.
And then I'll show you one more of him where he says that Tapper is a radical left partisan. Play this clip.
That means no fake Jake Tapper. Tapper is a radical left-wing partisan talk show host that masquerades as a journalist.
Projection.
Much.
The projection is off the charts there. And it's just, the problem is, Ben, is you hit the nail on the head there. They are working the refs, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to threaten these people in order to try to be, I guess, easier on Donald Trump or whatever their mission may be. The issue is that it often works. I think that's what we see. That's what we saw with that CNN debate. And hopefully we don't see that in this ABC debate. I want the moderators to be on top of their job, but I don't want them to be going out of their way to try to please Sean Hannity. And I feel like far too often there is this lean by these reporters and journalists where they feel that they don't want to be considered biased. They don't want to be considered, oh no, well, with Donald Trump said this crazy statement, but we can't fact check that because then we have to. No, like if somebody is in the wrong, if somebody is saying horrific stuff, you call that out. It's not you being biased to call that out, and then you don't have to go as hard at the other person if they're telling the truth. And what far too often happens is people like Sean Hannity and Donald Trump do get in the heads of these people and they do shift their behavior. I think it's one of the reasons why they do that. They also want to try to put things out there to try to preemptively kind of make excuses for whatever happens. If Donald Trump has a horrific debate on Tuesday night, it's because of the unfair moderators. It's because we told you these Democratic activists or they have it every which way. And it's all a part of this operation that they are pulling on Fox, and the nerve of him to act like he is the bastion of fairness and honesty in reporting. And it's just so sad to me that people are consuming these sorts of lies on a daily basis, this deluge of just disinformation every single day.
And it's frustrating, Brett, to your point, that this working of the refs does work quite often. I mean, look no further than the Kamala Harris interview with Dana Bash, where Dana Bash was just using right-wing talking points to ask her questions. It's like that's not journalism. I'm sorry. You don't have to bend over backwards, go out of your way to take, questions from the right-wing echo chamber in order to, solidify a quote-unquote good interview for the public. It's like, what are we doing? Can't we just play? I'm not even asking for pro-democracy to get, better rules, right? I just want the same set of rules that these MAGA Republicans get to play with. And time again, like if it's Kamala Harris, VP Harris, putting out her policy, where's Trump's policies? Why is it only VP Harris who has to put out her policies?
Hannibal Lecter, Jordy. Hannibal Lecter, sharks, electric batteries. It's all you got to know. Here's the thing. Donald Trump just has to spout off these phrases, right? He goes, build the wall, deport all the migrants, deport everybody. Drill baby. And no one ever drills baby drills into his comments to see what the heck he actually means and what the specific policies are. But here's honestly my belief about this election. I don't really give a crap about policy. Okay. I mean, I care about policy. I think Kamala Harris has significantly better policies. I think her policies benefit the middle class. I think her policies will bring down the cost of healthcare, help people with purchasing insulin, protect Social Security, protect people's reproductive freedoms. I think all those things are important. So that's not what I mean. But I mean, the stakes of this election are so much more than what are the specifics of your policies. We're dealing with an authoritarian dictator wannabe who wants to turn the United States of America into Russia. So I think where's the policy? Okay, well, give me the detail, VP Harris, on your policy. When Donald Trump isn't saying crap, I think a lot of that is a head fake to get you out of this framing that we have one candidate who actually supports democracy and is going to uphold the values of the United States of America, and we have one who wants to throw it all away and turn this country into a dictatorship. That's why we see people from all across the political spectrum coming to back Vice President Harris, regardless of policy. That's why you see the tent of the Democratic Party be the biggest tent imaginable. I'm talking, you have Senator Bernie Sanders and you have former Vice President Dick Cheney voting for the same person. It's not because they agree on policy. Okay. It's not because they agree on policy. It's because they agree on the fundamental values of the United States of America, and they want to uphold our democracy. And that is the number one issue we are facing.
I think we take that rant. We got a lot more. We just got reinstated.
What'd you say?
I said, I think we take that rant right now that Brett just did. We throw that on the TikTok that just got reinstated.
I love it. I love it. Everybody, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We don't have outside investors here on the MeidasTouch network. So if you want to help contribute to the growth of this network, and we would love all the help that we can get to keep growing this thing, especially as the right-wing bots are apparently attacking this in every which way. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And we're going to have an after show today. And then on Thursday, I believe we're going to do a live meeting where if you ever wanted to meet Brett, Jordy, and myself, you can meet us on that Zoom chat. You just got to sign up for patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We're going to take our first break of the show. We've got a lot more to discuss, folks. Let's take our first break.
Support for today's episode comes from Hexclad. Revolutionize your cooking experience with Hexclad cookware, where innovation meets culinary excellence. Hexclad cookware is designed to simplify your time in the kitchen while adding a touch of elegance to every meal. Hexclad has changed the cookware industry with an all-in-one hybrid pan that gives you the convenience and cleanup of nonstick, the versatility of your grandma's cast iron, and the durability to last a lifetime. Really, Hexclad cookware has a lifetime warranty. So whether you're elevating your cooking routine or hosting a decadent dinner party, Hexclad has you covered with unbeatable performance and style. Even the great Gordon Ramsay, known to many as a bit of a critic, only trusts Hexclad pots and pans in both his home and in all of his Michelin star restaurants. If it's good enough for Gordon and, well, me, we think that you'll be satisfied too. And for a limited time, Hexclad is giving our listeners 10% off your order with our exclusive link. Just go to hexclad.com/Meidas. Support our show and check them out at hexclad.com/MEIDAS. Now, let me tell you about my personal experience with Hexclad. I think you all know that I love to cook, and these Hexclad pots and pans have been revolutionary for me. Whether I'm making a pasta dish or a fish or a sauce, I could always count on my Hexclad, and anytime I have people over for dinner, they always rave about it and ask where I got mine. So whether you're searing steaks or whipping up delicate sauces, Hexclad's 6-piece set has everything you need. These pots and pans are metal utensil safe, dishwasher safe, and even oven safe up to 500 degrees. So say goodbye to sticking, burning, and uneven cooking, and hello to perfection in every dish. And for a limited time, Hexclad is offering our listeners 10% off your order. Just head to hexclad.com/Meidas to get started. Support our show and check them out at hexclad.com/Meidas. That's MEIDAS. Bon appetit. Let's eat with Hexclad's revolutionary cookware and elevate your cooking game to new heights.
As a kid, I loved eating cereal, but as an adult, I don't want all that sugar, and most cereals don't give me the protein I need. Then I found Magic Spoon, a nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like my childhood favorites, but without the sugar and with a ton of protein. And if you're already a Magic Spoon fan like I am, I have big news. Magic Spoon has turned their super popular cereal into high protein treats that are light, crispy, and taste just like those classic crunchy cereal bars. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are so delicious and have already become my favorite before and after gym snack. Every serving of Magic Spoon cereal has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and 4 grams of net carbs, so you can feel good about what you are eating. The most popular flavors are fruity and cocoa, and there's so many more. I love the cocoa ones. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are crispy, crunchy, airy, and an easy way to get 11 grams of protein on the go. And for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolate peanut butter, chocolatey peanut butter. I personally love Magic Spoon's chocolatey peanut butter treats. I have one every morning to start the day off on the right foot, and I know you will love it as as well. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/Meidas or look for Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for $5 off. Magic Spoon, hold on to the dream. magicspoon.com/Meidas.
Let's go. Two of my absolute favorite sponsors, Brett. I just love when you cook with the Hexclad. You were sending me photos the other day. Looked absolutely amazing. And a new obsession are these Magic Spoon treats, like the peanut butter chocolate. Unbelievable. I'm holding it up right now for our video viewers. Sorry, audio viewers. Definitely get this. It is amazing. Benji, where are we going next?
One of the reasons that I say play the clip is very intentional. And I say play the clip because I want to show the literal words. And of course, there are times where I want to give you my commentary and my opinion. But one of the things that we think at the MeidasTouch Network is so broken about the corporate media is that because they have all of these people on their bloated payroll as commentators and purported experts, and because they want to set the narrative, they have all of their proxies try to give their analysis of what's said rather than simply showing you what is said. And I believe when people are given the information, they can make informed decisions. I mean, that's rooted in my background when I used to be a trial lawyer, right? We didn't allow hearsay in. And all that corporate media is hearsay, right? People who are out of the court, or in this case, out of the event, commenting on what they believe was said at the event versus what exists in a court system, which is to show admissible evidence. And then the lawyer could make their argument and comment on the admissibility you could comment on the evidence that's already been determined to have admissibility. But what the jury is watching and seeing and observing and sensing is the evidence. And our entire election cycle and political media is the exact opposite of actually the way good data is presented in front of people. It's why Donald Trump hates our legal system with a passion. I mean, just think about it like this. If you include all of the grand juries that Donald Trump's been indicted on, the special grand juries in Georgia, and then the actual juries where Donald Trump or the Trump organization has either been convicted in the criminal cases. Remember, there was a Trump organization case and a Trump individual one where he was convicted by unanimous juries, or the civil cases where Trump was found liable by unanimous juries. Just ask yourself this. Where Trump's lawyers and the prosecutors or the plaintiff's lawyers both have an opportunity to select the jurors and to be involved in the process, to find that level of unanimity, unanimous juries making these conclusions, the information must be compelling. So why is it that we're so stratified as a nation, whereas juries who see these facts always end up convicting Donald Trump? Well, what if I told you that we're actually not that divided as a nation when you break down the actual statistics on issues? It turns out we're divided on people, actually not the issues. Overwhelmingly, the issues that Donald Trump stands for, to the extent there's any at all, are incredibly disfavored. I mean, if you want to talk about climate change, if you want to talk about gun control, if you want to talk about a bottom-up, middle-out economy, if you want to talk about Medicare, Social Security, if you want to talk about equal rights and treating all Americans with dignity, if you want to talk about all these weird and crazy proposals that these MAGAs want for the school boards and the burning the books, Americans will usually side with the pro-democracy outcome, which is embodied by the Democratic Party. However, when you ask other questions and you start pitting this party against this party or this person against this person, it is very close and very divided. And my thesis is the answer is very simple. The American people are not getting admissible, accurate, authentic information They're getting hearsay on top of hearsay, but even worse, propagandistic hearsay. And that's what we collectively have to rebut. So I say play the clip. When Donald Trump is in Wisconsin and he's giving a speech and he rambles about Hannibal Lecter, and he says the reason he's rambling about that is because he wants to call migrants Hannibal Lecter, I say play the clip, Brett.
And then the press, when I say Dr. Hannibal Lecter, the press says, oh, why did he mention that? They're wise guys back there, just wise guys. They say he rambled and started talking about Hannibal Lecter. What does that have to do? That's a representative of people that are coming into our country. Dr. Hannibal Lecter, he will have you for dinner. You know that? He will have you for dinner.
Then when Donald Trump says how not weird he is, and JD and he are not weird, and they're solid guys, I could just say, play the clip. Just watch what he says. Play it.
And he's a whack job. You know, they have a standard phrase that JD, who's very solid, and I happen to be very solid. I have other problems, perhaps, but I'm a very solid person. But JD's solid, I'm solid. They said this was just a soundbite. They gave it to all the fake news. The fake news, they're weird. No, he's weird. He is really weird. This guy. Can you imagine? I'm weird. It's just, you know, they do sound bites, and they gave one the other day, manufactured. The vote was manufactured. It's not a term that's used politically. Every network headed up something about the vote was manufactured. They follow the lead of these people, but we've got the lead. You know what?
Then he spends time talking about Al Capone, the late mobster who killed people. Play the clip.
You would form the foundation of a building someplace in Wisconsin. Now, Alphonse Capone led a very vicious, violent life, but according to the statistics, I am a much worse person than Alphonse Capone. I don't think.
Then Donald Trump downplays the DOJ indictment of Russian nationals for setting up front groups in America that paid right-wing influencers to spread propaganda to help Russia. Or as Donald Trump goes, just Russia, 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 Russia. Here, play this clip.
3 days ago, it started again. The Justice Department said, Russia may be involved in our elections again. You see that, Mr. Congressman? Great congressman from Texas. You see that? Russia. It's Russia. And you know, the whole world laughed at him this time. 2.5 years, not a phone call made to Russia, not anything to do with Russia, except stopping their pipeline and lots of other things that these people approved. And they said just the other day, the Attorney General, we are looking at Russia. And I said, oh, no, it's Russia, Russia, Russia all over again. But they don't look at China and they don't look at Iran. They look at Russia. I don't know what it is with poor Russia. That's very, but you know what? Russia would have never happened if I were president. Attacking Ukraine would have never.
They do look at Russia. They do look at Iran. Interestingly, and they do look at China, rather. They do look at Iran. And what's interesting is that also a spy from China was one of the main fake whistleblowers that was used by James Comer at his hearings where he was trying to impeach and failed at it with President Biden. With Iran, they are looking at it as well. The interesting thing, though, is that when the Trump campaign was hacked, rather than inform the FBI and DOJ, what did the Trump campaign do? Well, like a miracle, it's all going to go away. They tried to cover that up. But what you saw there is the difference, I think, between propaganda and admissible evidence in terms of what Donald Trump was even saying there. You know, here we go. Russia, Russia, Russia. There wasn't even a phone call. That would not be allowed in a court of law, a statement like that, because it's false. And what would be allowed is you would show, okay, Mr. Trump, who were the first foreign leaders that you had at the White House? Mr. Trump, objection. No, answer the question, Mr. Trump. Was it Lavrov and Kislyak, the two top foreign leaders from Russia? Were those the first people you invited to the Oval Office? Well, I need a yes or no. Yes. And did you give them classified information in the Oval Office? Objection. Answer the question. Yes. Why'd you give them classified information? Well, I have absolute right to give them classified information. I understand that the corporate media, is so focused on the horse race or whatever, but can we not forget that back in 2017, Donald Trump gave the Russians in the Oval Office classified information? And how do we know that? He tweeted about it. He posted it on Twitter. He said that, yeah, I gave them classified information, but I have the absolute right to give them information. Also, you want to talk Russia, Russia, Russia? You said Russia, Russia, Russia. If you're listening, hack into the emails of my political opponent. Then there's Helsinki. And then there's all the things you actually talk about with Russia every single day about how much you admire Putin. You wanted to make deals with Putin, you said, but because people mention Russia, Russia, you claim you couldn't make the deals with Putin that you want. You talk about disbanding NATO. Brett, to your point earlier, are we going to even really focus on the weeds? The guy wants to disband NATO. He made selfie videos of himself saying that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole thing is such a head fake. And I think those conversations, and like I said, I don't want anyone to say, oh, you don't think it's important that we know what Kamala Harris can do? We know what Kamala Harris is going to do. She said it in every single speech, by the way. She gives more policy in a single sentence than Donald Trump has said in years. Donald Trump said he was going to show us his healthcare plan. He said he was going to show us all these plans. He would literally show up to these speeches with gigantic binders full of blank pieces of paper. Like, what are we doing here? This is not about that right now. This is not where we are in this period of American history. And I think this is all part of these ops that we are seeing. And to see Donald Trump get up there, to see him demonize migrants like that, to demonize people who are coming to this country for a better life, like Americans have for hundreds of years, to see him just demonizing our intelligence the same way that he did in Helsinki, and to have Russia's back and to continue to cover for Russia when we have all of this evidence in this recent indictment that shows very strongly how the Russians infiltrated this tenant media that was amplifying these voices and using these influencers, telling them what to say. People like Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and Lauren Southern to push these anti-American messages. There is nothing more against this nation than that. And it is absolutely disqualifying that somebody would take the side of Russia and try to downplay this in this whole thing. And I pulled up this sheet also. This is from one of the exhibits from the Justice Department's indictment of the Russian nationals who were paying that tenant media. Let me pull this up because I want to show you some of these propaganda points that they had, because they match up exactly with what we just heard Donald Trump saying. In particular, I want to show number 5 on the topics. This is a list from Russia of campaign topics to push from their propaganda list. This is released by the Department of Justice as part of the indictment. Number 5, talk about the threat of crime coming from people of color and immigrants, and include new immigrants from Ukraine. That's straight from Russia to these right-wing influencers, to Donald Trump, that then gets parroted and talked about Hannibal Lecter and all this stuff. By the way, a lot of people think the reason why Donald Trump first started saying Hannibal Lecter is because he confused people seeking asylum in the United States with people in insane asylums. That's like the theory that people seem to have figured out, that's why Donald Trump says Hannibal Lecter, because he's an idiot. But it all goes back. It's all this Russian propaganda that gets laundered through the likes of Donald Trump and all these accounts. And we're going to dig even deeper into this when we talk about what's going on, what's been happening all day today with this next op that they have been pushing, because every day it is something new, and every day it's the same kind of coordination between the actual Republicans in government, MAGA influencers, Donald Trump, foreign governments, and it's no mistake that they push the same crap out at the same time every single day.
And the last thing I want to add to that, Brett, is with this tenant media stuff, like it is on all of us, the collective pro-democracy out there, the Midas Mighty, to make sure this story doesn't go away. Because you bet your butt that if this was opposite, if this was reverse, if it was Russians or whomever paying pro-democracy accounts to, talking points or whatnot, put that into the world, they would not shut up about it. Rightfully so.
Also, Jordy, do you think tenant media, Russia just tried it once? They're like, we're just going to do this one little tiny media company.
Not a one-off. It's bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's up to all of us to continue to poke at it and figure out what the heck was going on.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If former President Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton were in office when COVID hit and they handled it the exact same way that Donald Trump handled it, if former President Barack Obama would hold press conferences and go, well, like a miracle, I just think it's all going to go away. I don't think we. By the way, my ratings very good right now. There may be mobile morgues, and you may not have your toilet paper, and you and your family may be terrified you're going to wake up dead tomorrow. But I'm getting great ratings right now, and I also want to be clear. I'm probably not going to leave this office. I think that there's a lot of cheating going on, and I think I'm going to stay in power. If former President Barack Obama did that,
you've sharpened up that Obama. I'm sorry, that was good. Great.
Listen,
great
not
job.
only would he be arrested, the best case scenario for Obama would be sentenced to prison for the rest of his life. More likely, he would probably get the death penalty if he did literally the exact same type of stuff that Donald Trump did. Just imagine the ferocity that would be geared at him from presiding over a mass casualty event. Nobody would be like, well, it's China, China, China. I guess it's China's fault. And they did it. And we should count out that year. When we look at Obama's stats, let's remove that year from any of our focus. And let's focus, even though there was a recession about to happen before that, let's just focus on the first year and a half where he inherited the predecessor's economy. Let's not focus on anything else at all. I mean, it's the most absurd and offensive stuff that's so obvious sometimes that sometimes I really, as I'm just, I like to walk around my neighbor. As I'm walking around, I go, how is it that nobody else but MeidasTouch and a handful of other great independent sources out there are covering this stuff and talking? I'm like, what? I'm like, am I seeing something that's so different? And then it's no, there's a reason why we're getting close to 30 million views every 48 hours and why we have over 3 million subscribers, because the American people and the world, we have a big world audience as well, big global audience, is like, yeah, we see it too. And we don't know why are they doing that? And I'm like, I know, but here's the thing. We can take our power back, and we're doing that together as a community-built network. We still have some show to go. Let's take our last quick break of the show. AI might be the most important computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up, folks. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power naturally. So how do you compete without the costs spiraling out of control? Good question. It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber 8x8 and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Meidas. Go to oracle.com/MEIDAS. That's oracle.com/Meidas. Go to oracle.com/Meidas and tell them the MeidasTouch brothers say hello. Mortgage interest rates are dropping and are now in the low fives. So if you've been waiting to figure out how to get your finances in order, you need to call my friends at American Financing today. A lot of us are carrying really high credit card balances that charge us 20% or more each and every month. It's time to get rid of those. American Financing salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you tap into their home's equity to get out of high interest debt. They're saving their average customer $800 a month by doing this. And with rates dropping, the decision's really easy. All it takes is a 10-minute, no-cost, no-obligation phone call to find out how much you can save. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So call American Financing today, 866-886-2026. That's 866-886-2026. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/touch. That's AmericanFinancing.net/touch. APR for rates in the 5 start at 6.014% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 866-886-2026 for details about credit costs and terms.
I've been trying to lead a heart-healthy lifestyle, but finding the energy to keep up with healthy changes like getting my steps in, it's been an uphill battle. We often think living a more heart-healthy life means making big, unsustainable changes. Well, with SuperBeets Heart Chews, you can get daily blood pressure support in just 2 tasty chews a day. And they even promote heart-healthy energy without the stimulants. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the antioxidants in SuperBeets are clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. My energy levels are higher than ever. Now, without typical dips from coffee and energy drinks, it's fantastic to support my blood pressure and still have the energy for more physical activity. It's a win-win. Double your potential with SuperBeets Heart Chews. Get a free 30-day supply of SuperBeets Heart Chews on all bundles and 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeets.com and use code MIDAS. That's getsuperbeets.com, code MIDAS. Let's go. Shout out to all of our incredible sponsors. Really appreciate it. Links are in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Click all those links. Like I always say, the Oracle, they always freak out about how many people come over right after watching the show or during the show. Let's surprise them again. Click on that link. Let's bring a lot of traffic over there. Benji, where are we going?
First.
Ooh, right. Where
first, I just want to say programming note for tomorrow. We got this first presidential debate between Vice President Harris and Donald Trump. What we are going to do is probably about an hour before, and you can check for a more specific time tomorrow once we fully figure out the schedule. We're going to do pre-coverage of the debate on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out at youtube.com/MeidasTouch. We'll probably do some post coverage as well. We've reached out to ABC to see if they would allow us to actually air the debate as well. They said that they do not want to provide the debate to independent media, even though they're providing it to other corporate media. So take with that what you will. We tried our best. Don't blame us. It's their fault. But that being said, we will be doing pre-coverage and post-coverage, and we are excited to see everything that happens tomorrow night. Ben.
Maybe I should have done this. Listen up, Bob Iger. If you truly care about listen up, Iger. If you really care about the pro-democracy community, I mean, how absurd is that? And then they get to stream it on their net. Like, they get rewarded for it, and us providing the objective data. It's like, yeah, sorry, we're not doing digital streaming. It's like, well, guess what? More people would have watched it here than would have watched it on.
That's exactly. I mean, it's exactly what they're scared of. but what are you gonna do?
A whole new batch of polling just came out earlier in the day from Morning Consult as well. That actually is pretty favorable for Vice President Kamala Harris. She leads nationally 49-46. Also leading in Virginia, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan by at least 3, and in some states more than that. Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina are tied, but get this, while Arizona has Trump up 2 within the margin of error, Florida 49-47 in this highly, it's a very highly touted poll. Florida is within 2 right now, and look, we've been saying it here over and over again. It's going to be a very close, very, very close election. Polls don't vote. People do. And ultimately for us, What's most important is that you just have all the data and information, and make sure if you're an American citizen and you're able to vote, that you're registered to vote, and that you are voting, and that you have all of the data. What were you going to say, Brett?
I was going to say, don't live by the poll, die by the poll. You know how we feel about polls. You know we don't love polls. Basically, every poll in the past few weeks has had VP Harris up. And there was one New York Times poll yesterday that had Donald Trump up by 1, and everybody acted like the entire world was ending. Don't let any one poll get you down, especially as we see these polls that come in today, and then you get this whiplash, right? I think there's a certain point where, if it's affecting you that much, just, log off. And, what you got to do is let all the polls, whether they're good, let them fuel you, let them inspire you. If you see polls where you see Kamala Harris down or whatever, let that say, you know what, I got to work that much harder to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't, win this thing. And so, and use the data, use the trends, use what the polls are saying also to spur you into action. If a poll says that, voters want to, learn X, Y, and Z about Vice President Harris before they make their decision, that's something that you could keep in mind, as you're out there and discussing the election with your friends and family. Use those sorts of little elements to your advantage. And all opportunities, use the opportunity to get involved in our democracy. I mean, remember, like, we could speak all we want. People could be they could be airing all these ads, whatever it is. The most important pundit, if you will, is you. It's you speaking to your friends and speaking to your family, because believe it or not, you're the person that they trust the most. I mean, you're their blood in many cases, right? Or you're their best friend. You're their family by bond. Let that work to your advantage and speak to people directly. It's the most powerful and impactful thing you could do.
And look, there's only 57 days as of this recording right now, 56 days if you're listening to audio. Ben, I saw that TikTok. Thanks for that. I hope that's a reoccurring segment on your TikTok page. Big fan of that. And my message to everybody out there, look, put your head down, do the work. Don't leave anything out on that field. 56 days to go. Let's get going, folks.
Brett, with all of the attacks coming from Donald Trump and MAGA and Fox about Marxism and communism, when it's clear they don't even know what those words mean. It's interesting, because when I think of Marxism, communism, does JP Morgan Chase come to mind? How about Goldman Sachs? Because there's been a bunch of reports from them lately actually saying that Vice President Kamala Harris is doing pretty good when it comes to the economy, as are her plans. I mean, let's talk first about the Goldman Sachs report. Goldman Sachs predicts a far stronger GDP and job growth if Vice President Kamala Harris wins the 2024 election and Democrats sweep Congress. And by the way, it's not even going to be close based on the analysis that they provide. On the contrary, Goldman Sachs predicts the economy would take a big hit if Donald Trump wins, and that inflation would increase due to Trump's planned tariffs. In other clips, I just don't want to show so many Trump clips because his voice annoys me, but you get the point. But there was another clip where Donald Trump's like, we're going to become a tariff nation. Tariffs, 100% tariffs on all these companies. That's what we're going to do. So you're going to tax the point of sale, meaning United States companies. And then what do you think the tariff is going to actually lead to? Don't you realize that it's going to cause retaliatory tariffs? So it's going to screw both imports and exports at the very. I don't think he understands what a tariff is. Chad Livingood, a reporter from Detroit News, I did an interview with him. He did a great interview here where he broke down at a very detailed level kind of Trump's policies, and especially as it relates to automakers in Detroit. And what he said to us is, if your pillow is made in China and the American government slaps a tariff on Chinese-made pillows, the tariff is added to the cost of the pillow at the point of sale in a Walmart. Now apply that to any other kind of product or thing. The country of origin doesn't pay the tariff. The pillow buyer pays the tariff. That's how tariffs work. And going back to what I said earlier, when Trump said things like tariff nation, the tariff's going to be a 100% tax on China and all, it isn't. That's not what a tariff is. And so corporate media needs to point out what Chad Livingood is pointing out as well. And Chad is a local reporter for the Detroit News. And I think there's still some local reporters doing good work there. And so if you look at economic growth, inflation, the budget deficit, Goldman Sachs says Vice President Kamala Harris will completely defeat Donald Trump on all of on every single one of those things. Then when you talk about what JP Morgan Chase said recently, David Kelly from JP Morgan Chase said on CNBC, we think inflation will run at a 2.6% annual rate next week. Meanwhile, unemployment is running at 4.2%. That combination is better than it's been for 85% of the time over the past 50 years. So right now, in terms of what our economy is, it's doing better than 85% of the time that America has ever existed in the past 50 years. And then you were talking about drill, baby, drill. There's more oil production right now than in the history of America, with still a focus on climate change, more infrastructure projects going up. Our GDP, you want to look at other stats right there. The GDP is the strongest of any G7 nation. We've exceeded the projections. We're the only G7 nation to exceed GDP projections taken before COVID in 2024. And these are just stats. This is just the data. Any other major economy would trade places with where America is right now. But what's happening out there? Why is this not permeating to the public? Well, it's because the MAGAs create a false reality. Corporate media both sides it. And people believe, oh, I guess there are 20,000 Haitian migrants who have taken over Springfield, Ohio, and are eating ducks in the street and stealing people's cats and dogs and barbecuing them. And it's being spread by the major right-wing influencer type people. I mean, we're seeing this spread from the House Judiciary GOP. And then J.D. Vance says, reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country in Springfield, Ohio. Then it's like, what's this based on? There was a message board post on something that's not even clear whether it was on Facebook.
It was
saying like a conspiracy account.
Well, here's what it's about. I have the original story, and here's how crazy it is. Okay, so it's from a private Facebook page from August. So this was something that happened in August. And this was a story about a random American citizen. This woman, her name is Alexis Telia Farrell. And this woman, Telia Farrell, she apparently was arrested for killing a neighbor's cat and eating it or something to that effect. And this is an American citizen. She's
not Haitian.
Not Haitian. She's
not in Springfield.
Not in Springfield. Hundreds of miles away from Springfield. And so for whatever reason, because they're all coordinated like these Russian ops, like that I showed you in that Department of Justice document before, where it says, make sure you demonize immigrants. This is the way to win and get people on your side. What they do is they take a screenshot of this Facebook post, then they make up a bunch of other stuff. They spread this hysteria, and they get other people talking about it. They use their own posts as sources to cite, oh, look, this account said this happened. Yeah, that's one of your propaganda accounts that said this happened. They use that to spread these lies. And today they all decided, today we're going to push this line of BS. And we're going to try to combat all this. They say all these things about childless cat ladies and JD Vance and RFK is literally ate dogs and all this weird, stuff that was going on. We're going to push back and we're going to spread this story that Kamala is coming for your pets. She wants to kill your dogs. She wants to kill your cats because she's letting in 30,000 Haitian migrants into your towns in middle America. It's all a lie. 100% a lie. There are no 30,000 Haitian migrants that are eating pets and dogs. And I mean, the entire thing is one lie, but it's spread in unison. It's coordinated. And we talked about the tenant media, the Russian psychological operation. We don't know if Russia is behind something like this, but it works in the same exact way, where you have these big name influencer accounts. They start spreading these stories, and then they spread like wildfire because these are trusted accounts in the MAGA universe, and they have a whole lot of reach. So you see it start with somebody like an Elon Musk, right? They elevate this. The House Judiciary GOP, they start using Elon Musk's AI software to create artificial intelligence images of Donald Trump hugging ducks and hugging cats. And then they have Elon Musk then amplify these pictures. And the House Judiciary GOP says, protect our ducks and kittens in Ohio. You have this account called End Wokeness, which is believed to be run by this white nationalist, allegedly a MAGA right-wing guy named Jack Posobiec. And End Wokeness spreads this story and says Springfield is a small town in Ohio. 4 years ago, they had 60,000 residents, but under Biden and Harris, 20,000 Haitian immigrants were shipped to the town. Now ducks and pets are disappearing. Completely made up. Then you have that Jack Posobiec, who's allegedly behind this End Wokeness account. He tweets out another AI image of Donald Trump holding a cat and a duck and trying to protect it from a bunch of African Americans behind him. I mean, this is the most racist stuff imaginable. Meanwhile, you actually ask the people in the town, you ask the police in the town, and they go, yeah, this story is completely fake. Like, we've looked into these claims. It's completely fake. Here's from the Springfield News-Sun newspaper. The headline is Springfield police say no reports of pets stolen after viral media post. But that facts don't get in the way of the MAGA Republican story who spread these lies. And once again, because exactly what Ben said, they cannot fight against the actual reality of a good economy, of steady leadership, of America actually leading the world in all these categories where other countries are falling short. They cannot compete against Kamala Harris actually having cogent, coherent policy plans, against her actually inspiring people, uplifting people, while Donald Trump just threatens people, and Donald Trump has these just bizarre, rambling statements where you have no idea what the heck he's saying. So they don't live in reality, but they are quite comfortable in spreading this BS in order to create their own reality, and then they force other people to play defense against this fake reality. That's exactly what we're seeing here. And this is in a long line of these stories. I mean, every single day there is something like this. There was that horrific shooting last week in the Georgia school. Horrible story. And what were the Republicans' first things that they tried to push? That this shooter was a transgender person who hated people who weren't transgender. That was the story they were pushing. And they pushed that by citing a CNN article that said the opposite. The CNN article said that this individual was enraged about the acceptance of transgender people. He was enraged that people were accepting transgender people. That was one of the things that made him so angry. This 14-year-old kid, that's one of the things where I wonder where he got that from these same people who are spreading this BS. They changed it into he was a transgender person. And they try to say that every shooting is done by transgender people, just attacking marginalized groups and trying to turn them into the enemy. It's so dangerous. It's so disgusting. You had Donald Trump then amplify that disinformation at the same rally from the clips we're showing. I won't play this clip, but Donald Trump said, you know what Americans are afraid of? You know what parents are afraid of? They're afraid of sending their kid to school and he comes back with a sex change. Jimmy goes to school and he comes back with a brutal sex change operation. Imagine saying that crap like literally the weekend after parents in America sent their children to school and had their kids shot to death in school. I think parents are actually afraid of their kids being gunned down by people who are radicalized and inspired and have easy access to weapons. But they need to deflect from the issues that they caused, and they do that once again. How? by creating these false realities, by making up this story. And the more ridiculous story, the better. The more absurd the story, the better. Because if they could get people to believe that, they could get them to do anything. And that is all part of the plan. It's all part of these operations. It's why they go so far with it. And it's why these propaganda operations, these influence operations that we see every single day, it's why they are so dangerous to democracy and to the United States.
You know, the response by these right-wing influencers is they claim that they would have spread this information regardless. Their defense is that we would have done this for free and we didn't know that we were being used by Russia. It just so happens that our views align. This was the defense, that our views align. That's what the right-wing influencers say, with the kind of laboratory-tested propaganda that seeks to divide Americans with complete lies and with complete disinformation. So going back to what I said earlier, this is why in a court of law, when you have admissible evidence versus the hearsay and the lies, you have different types of outcomes. And this is why, despite the fact that the American people actually tend to agree on core issues, people are so divided because there's all these lies. I did another hot take recently on Jordy, Aurora, Colorado, where the right-wing lie was that Venezuelan gangs have taken over, hijacked an entire building, and they were running cartel operations and had basically taken over Aurora, Colorado. Again, I'm not going to show the videos of the Aurora mayor, the Denver mayor making a rare kind of unified appearance together, the Aurora top police officers saying, okay, I mean, look, there's some crime, and like in any place, there's some gang activity that takes place, but that's not anywhere near what is being claimed to go on. And there's actually other threats that are bigger than anything that's even being talked about. And there's no Venezuelan gangs that have taken over entire apartment complexes or the entire city. And Brett, that's exactly what Donald Trump said was going on in his speech. He said the Venezuelan gangs have taken over. So when you ask people how their specific life is doing, they usually answer very positively, or that they're doing good. Their 401ks are up significantly. It's just, there's no way that your 401k right now is doing worse if you had anybody who just put it in some safe fund, because our stock market, is up 45 to 50% since when Donald Trump left. Sure, are there days that aren't good? Yeah, but the stock market goes up and down. As a whole, since Trump left office, we're up about 45 to 50%. Meanwhile, Trump stock, Trump media, is down close to 60%. So if your 401k was comprised of Trump stock, you're down 60% in the past 6 months. And if you simply followed a pretty safe index fund right now of our U.S. stock market since Trump left, you're doing significantly better right now over the past 4-year period. But then people have this view, because they're watching Fox, that all of these things are happening. That, as Donald Trump says, Jimmy's going to school and they're changing his gender without the parents' consent, and they're coming home different genders. That's not happening. A Venezuelan gang has taken over Aurora and all of Denver, and they control Colorado now. So the Hells Angels needs to come in and save it, because the government refuses to stop an ongoing war that's taking. That's not happening. It's a literal false story that's being pushed by MAGA and Musk and all the right wingers, and at the top by Donald Trump. Or the most recent one, the Haitians in Ohio are now eating your cats and your dogs and your ducks. And by the way, I mean, Don Jr. posts a ton of photos of himself hunting and killing ducks, like in Louisiana, and all. Don Jr. posts photos of himself like killing giraffes and rhinoceroses that are like in Africa. That's not the point, but they're spreading these. If anything's a bigger threat to ducks, it's Don Jr. hunting them in Louisiana than Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. And then the police has to say it's false, but then it's just another dot, right? And they overwhelm story. And Fox has been doing this relentlessly, nonstop for decades now since their existence. And they kick into high gear when you have a Democrat, whether it's Obama or Biden, in office with lies over and over again. And it permeates the public. But that's why we, the people, need to reclaim our power. I'll leave you all with this. Vice President Kamala Harris's new ad dropping before the debate. And she says, look, you don't want to take my word for it? How about the people who worked closely with Donald Trump say he's a danger to our troops, our security, and our democracy? Let's play it.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
There you have it, folks. All right, well, we'll have our pre-coverage of the debate. Make sure you keep checking back on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. We surpassed 3 million. We're on our way now to 4 million subscribers. Make sure you subscribe as well to our YouTube channel. I know Jordy has been talking about maybe adding some even additional membership benefits other than the emojis. So you hit that little $sign at the bottom. That's one way to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Separately, there's patreon.com/MeidasTouch, where you could meet me, Brett, and Jordy on Thursday when we do our after show. I got to remind everybody, I am on baby girl watch. Any moment right now, I could be having my first, or my wife will be having, but our first child together. Our baby, she's putting in the work, though, and I'm.
That's right.
So we will. I hopefully we'll be there on Thursday, but hopefully, it will be a good news either way. And store.MeidasTouch.com. Get that pro-democracy gear, 100% union made, 100% made in the USA. Get your gear today. Jordy, Brett, it's been fun. We got a lot of work to do. Take it out, Jordy.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty!
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Midas Mighty. Let's use our power well.